Well, how about a little southern hospitality for you? Birmingham, Alabama, the site for round number 2 of the INDY NXT by Firestone Championship here in 2024. Field heading out of the racetrack for the first time for practice number 1. Hello, everybody. My name is Nick Yeoman. Thank you so much for joining us here on the IndyCar Radio Network. Our driver analyst, David Hamilton, joins me in the booth. Michael Young is pit side as the field of 21 is heading out of the racetrack for practice number 1. Their only bit of track activity for the day. When we last left you, it was March 10th for round number 1 at the streets of St. Petersburg. If you forgot what happened in that race, it's understandable because it was a while ago, and it's why these drivers are so fired up to go racing for round number 2 this weekend. It was Nolan Siegel who scored the race win. In fact, it was a trio of veterans who made up the podium at St. Petersburg. Siegel getting the win, Jacob Abel second, Louis Foster third, and Davey Hamilton. As we kick this practice off, ultimately, that's what I think we're looking for. Some of these newcomers to the series, can they rise up here in the second weekend of the year and catch some of those guys like Siegel, Foster, and Abel, who certainly have a lot of experience under their belt. We watched Michael D'Orlando heading in to Charlotte's Web, and David, I thought he did a really good job at St. Pete. I know it was, many weeks ago, but to remind folks, that was kind of a last-minute deal to put him in that race car. He impressed us right away, top 5 in practice all weekend long, comes away with a top 5 finish, and good to see him back in a car because there was certainly some question about his full season effort.
Yeah, I'm not even sure where that still stands today. It's good to see him here. I don't know if it's just for here and if it's one race at a time, but if he continues to run up front, I'd have to think that team wants to keep him in that car, or hopefully, better yet, it helps everybody, some sponsorship comes along. These cars go through, they're wide open if you have it right, and then going down into 12 and 13, that's the most high commitment, the most difficult. Probably the most difficult course, I think, on any of the courses we go to, because you drop down into a dip and then you're going over a rise, which it really loads the car, then unloads the car. It's blind. You can't see the exit. And then you go into another long right-hand corner to 15, 16, and then back to the straightaway and turn 17. So 17 corners on this fairly short track keeps them busy.
So just saw James Rowe, who's been one of the faster drivers in this practice session. He got a little wide at the exit of the portion of the racetrack we call Charlotte's Web, Davey, because of the gigantic spider statue down there. Back end just hangs out. Those drivers like to take those cars as wide as possible exiting that corner. Rowe just got a little extra wide.
Just a little extra wide. It's easy. You really tried to pick the throttle up quick there because this is going into a passing zone, and that's where you don't want to. You want to be fast on any exit going into a passing zone, as we see him a little bit sideways going down through 15.
Yeah, needless to say, back into that car, hanging out a little bit there the last couple corners. But again, James Rowe, the Irishman, has shown some speed at a minute 13.398. That last lap was down at about a minute 17, so those mistakes certainly hurt him. But that car for Andretti Global appears to be fast, as is the car right behind him, Miles Rowe, making his way around the Alabama roller coaster, sitting 7th quick right now. Reese Gold, Louis Foster, and Josh Pearson, the 6 drivers faster than Nolan Siegel. And David, to put a bow on that, obviously Nolan Siegel is very talented. We've had a chance to see that up close and personal over the last year and a half of him racing in INDY NXT. But how difficult do you think that the last month has been for him, kind of bouncing back and forth? Because it's kind of unique. I can't remember any driver in recent years kind of bouncing back and forth doing both. What an opportunity.
We're very fortunate to be able to do that. And right now he's not cutting a really good lap because he's he's trailing, trying to pass a car, which he's going to do right now.
That's Lindsay Brewer.
Yeah, that's Lindsay. Yeah, got by her. Now he's able. This lap won't be a good one, but the next one should be. But what an opportunity for this kid, because once you get out of an Indy car and you back up into a slower car or something, just a little different, it's going to be slower, makes it feel easier because you went just so fast in an Indy car, and you're, as he said, you're trying to get the most out of it quickly with those tires. Those things will transfer over into Indy NXT. I feel like he could have a really good weekend this weekend, just having that experience from the Indy car.
Yeah, I had a chance to talk with him a little bit as well. He came away with a 20th place finish at Long Beach in his official points-paying debut. Also ran in that race at Thermal, the All-Star race. But for Nolan Siegel, I thought he did a pretty good job, especially in the closing laps, Davey, because the way that IndyCar race played out, you had Newgarden and Dixon, and they were catching the lap cars, and Nolan Siegel was one of those, and I thought he did a good job of managing his space and not playing into that race.
Yeah, the best thing is he finished the race. That's key. As a rookie, that's what you want to do. So that's very, very key, just to finish the race, get all the laps in, and get that education.
Well, we are a third of the way through this first practice session. Jacob Abel is the fastest so far. He has turned 8 laps in this practice session.
And so Siegel, he's on a roll. He's got confidence. He's going to make it happen. And now Rowe just goes in front of him. So Rowe's getting some good laps in at 1:12.87. Didn't beat him by much, but he's the fastest on the track so far. As we see, boy, a big, huge lockup by Jack Miller down into Charlotte's Web. Locked that left front up. The car got pretty squirrely, and he gathered up. He's obviously he's not going to get a good lap this time. Finds himself right now in that 19th position. So Jack Miller, with maybe some brake bias issues going on right now.
So we see Michael D'Orlando doing a little off-roading, cutting some the grass, and we're seeing a replay, Davey, of Yuban Sundaramurthy hanging the rear end of that race car out for Barber Motorsports.
Yeah, we've seen that quite a bit off Charlotte's Web, whether they're pushing off to that outside or getting loose and sliding to that grass line. That, like I said, that you really want to pick the throttle up as quick as you can to get down in turn 8 and 9, just because that is a passing opportunity. And they're just, you know, it's practice. That's why we see another car, the 29 car, locking the tire up, going down through that. That was actually in turn 2 and 3 that he was locking those tires up. And so anyways, we see a lot of smoke, a lot of off track right now, but that's why we have practice. And that was Rowe, by the way. He's P1 on the chart.
He's out there, and he's at least going to get a couple of laps in. And actually walked to the back of this very long pit lane, and both of the Cape cars sit on pit lane. The Alba.
Watching Kyle Collette, Lindsey Brewer heading down the front straightaway into turn number 1 for Lindsey. She is 21st fastest as Callum Hedges found some speed. Talked to Lindsey a little bit in the preseason. She's just trying to get a wrangle on these race cars because, Davey, no power steering in the Indy cars or Indy NXT machines. These are handfuls to drive. And she said she spent a lot of time in the gym trying to get that upper body strength. I know all these drivers have to focus on that because these things, especially over the course of a long race, are not easy to drive.
Yeah, as you said, they do not have power steering. One of the few cars in any motorsports that do not have power steering. And it's physical, very, very physical. And these tracks, the load that they get when we do these elevation changes especially, it really is hard to turn. I mean, it's really hard to for example, we used to run at Sears Point, Nick, and going up that turn 1, that left-hander going up the hill, it was almost impossible. You had to turn early, and because once you got it turned and you hit that, you loaded that car, that was about all you had. It's about all you could do. So very difficult to do. And then this track here is not going to be any favorite for hers because of so many elevation changes, so much physical strength to get around this course. It's going to be difficult for her, but she's giving it a shot. She's trying all she can. She's doing what it takes, and you have to be an athlete. There's no question about it when you come to this level.
That is Louis Foster. I think he's, probably a couple hundred yards from the entrance to pit lane. Yeah, turn 15. That car has come to a stop.
Good news is it is a red flag. He's in an unsafe place, but where the traffic and the cars are going to come around him, he got to the inside of the track, so he's not in any harm, but can't stay there, obviously. And he came close to make it to pit lane, but just didn't have quite enough momentum to get him there. Obviously shut off. We'll find out what the issues are later.
That's going to bring out a red flag. Aaron Likens displays it to the field. They will all head to pit lane, and the AMR safety crew, once they are safely able to get on the racetrack, will tow that car back to pit lane. As for Louis Foster, 8th quick right now in the practice session at a minute 13.673. Haven't seen a ton of change over timing and scoring in the last, I don't know, Davey, 5, 10, 15 minutes. I would assume probably means, correct me if I'm wrong, working on race runs where maybe they've knocked the shine off the tires and now they're trying to establish some rhythm and make sure those cars aren't just good for one lap, but good for 20, 30 of the course of a race.
That's what it is. Right now, the fast, I should say, is wore off the tires. They're in race mode now. The tires, obviously, Firestone does a great job on tires, but they're best when they're 2, 3, 4 laps old. Once it gets to that point and you get heat and you start getting heat cycles in them, they start falling off on speed, and so it's more race conditions. So if anybody, I'm not exactly sure. I have to look at what their tire allotments are for this weekend. I doubt that they'll put another new set up for this session. They'll wait till tomorrow, try to get set up for qualifying and burn through some. So right now, you won't see the fast times just because of the tire wear they have.
He comes in 19 points behind championship leader Nolan Siegel. Jacob Abel sits second. We're talking about Louis Foster, who is trying to find a way to get that car back to pit lane so Andretti Global can take a look at it.
Now, Louis Foster's car just made its way down pit lane and back to the paddock area. Obviously not a way you want to end a practice session, but hopefully you at least had an answer on the issue with your car.
Yeah, hopefully. It seems to be electronic, which is one of the most annoying issues to have. It's very, very hard to diagnose, but at least we've got practice 2 tomorrow, so you've got a whole afternoon, a bit of tomorrow morning for the boys to try and figure out what's wrong with it. bit of a shame, but it's a track we've been to many times, so I'm not too worried. They'll fix it.
Not a fun year last year, if I remember correctly, a little dust up in the turns, but this year with the podium finish and the season opener, the confidence you have in this team, this car, and getting a good result on Sunday.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we were pretty quick here last year. We just struggled to get pole last year here, but we were fast. We had a good car. So yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it, and I'm really trying to build our pace from St. Pete and see what we can do.
Have a great night tonight. We'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah, thank you.
That's Louis Foster, guys. Electrical gremlins put him out of this practice session.
Under 2 minutes to go here in practice for the second race of the 2024 season for INDY NXT by Firestone. And Jacob Abel has found even more speed. New driver at the top of the charts, and he cleared the entire field by a margin. A minute 12.390, the quick lap now for the driver for Barber Motorsports, and that is almost a half a second faster. It's a half a second faster than everybody but James Rowe, who sits at a minute 12.852. James continues to push on the racetrack. In fact, we see him heading out on the front straightaway right now as he will blitz underneath the flag stand here at Barber Motorsports Park with just 90 seconds to go. But that's a great lap for Jacob Abel, Davey. Nobody in the neighborhood right now. So right here at the end of practice, this is when I would assume you want to show a little bit of speed.
That's right. You know, I'm surprised. I don't know if they put new tires on or they didn't, but usually at the end of the runs, you don't see the big numbers because they don't put the new tires on and they're on war tires. But he doesn't have a lot of laps. And in the day, what is it, 18 laps, right? Rowe has 21, Siegel has 18. They're all in that same area, but it seems like the good or where you get really good speed off the tires aren't there.
All right, so tip the cap then to do that on used tires. Pretty impressive. And James Rowe has taken a shot. He's found his fastest lap here as the checkered flag is out. He's improved to a minute 12.514. And Jacob Abel, he got under a minute 12, Davey, by the slimmest of margins. How about a minute 11.999? Jacob Abel. Unless anybody's got anything for him, I'll be shocked. That's a heck of a lap here at the end of practice.
What a great lap. We knew he was flirting with it, and we watched him. You know, we covered him live around there, and he just looked flawless. And, wow. But, I mean, when you say barely, you can't – yeah, that's barely a 111, but he got it done.
It is 1/1000th of a second clear of a minute 12. Again, a minute 11.999 for Jacob Abel as he will pull that car onto pit lane just to the left of the flag stand. Aaron Likens displaying the checkered flag. We see Michael Young looking over that black and white race car. I'm sure he's going to get a chance to chat with Jacob after he hops out of that race car. So here's how they end up in practice. We'll go from the rear of the field. Lindsey Brewer ends up 21st fastest. Niels Colin was 20th. 19th was Callum Hedge. He only turned 15 laps. They had some issues, but he got out there and turned a lap at a minute 14.83. Nolan Aller ends up 18th. 17th was Josh Mason. Salvador de Alba Jr. was 16th fastest. Louis Foster, who had those electrical gremlins, plummeted to 15th quick. His fast lap was a minute 13.673. Jack Miller was 14th fastest. 13th was Jonathan Brown. 12th was Christian Bogle. Miles Rowe ended the session 11th fastest. Yuvan Sundaramurthy, final driver in the top 10. Kaio Collette was 9th fastest. Michael D'Orlando ends up 8th. 7th was Reese Gold. Jamie Chadwick, didn't talk a whole lot about her, but she's got some pace this weekend. She was 6th fastest for Andretti Global. Josh Pearson, good run for him for HMD. He ends up 5th fastest at a minute 13.1. Bryce Aaron for Andretti Global, he found some speed right at the end of the session. He ends up 4th. Nolan Siegel was 3rd. James Rowe was 2nd, and the fastest man here in Birmingham is standing by. It's Jacob Abel. He's with Michael Young.
Well, it's early in the weekend, Jacob. Do you play cards?
No, a little bit, yeah.
Okay, when you have 4 aces, you're not supposed to smile and let everybody know how good your hand is. What a race car you have thus far. Wow.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. You know, huge shout out to all the Barber Motorsports guys. You know, basically after St. Pete, it was the start of another off season for us. You know, last year St. Pete went really well, and then Barber not so much. So this year St. Pete went well. We're going to try and make, you know, Barber go well too. So yeah, a lot of work the past 6 weeks to really keep in it. And yeah, I'm super proud of everyone, and we just worked through everything really well there.